Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Deny that it exists. The Prime Minister rejects the fact that Canadians are struggling. He said, quote, affordability is the best it's been in a decade, and yesterday he doubled down. But let's take a look at the facts. Rent for a one-bedroom unit has doubled since 2015. The typical Canadian house is up 51%. And in fact, over the last 10 years, housing prices have outpaced incomes in Canada by 29%, the worst drop in affordability in the entire G7. Now that he's had time to learn the facts, is he going to keep telling Canadians that their struggles are all in their imagination?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, what we're telling Canadians is that no matter the circumstance, we're going to be there for them. And I just want to take this moment to say to all Canadian students across the country, there are 100,000 new jobs on the job bank. Please apply for Canada Summer Jobs in your own community. That's the kind of action, by the way, Mr. Speaker, that these guys vote against all the time. They vote against kids. They vote against moms. They vote against seniors. They vote against tradespeople. What are they in favour of?
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
They are in favour of lowering taxes and prices and fighting Liberal inflation. That's what Conservatives are all about, Mr. Speaker. But maybe Liberals believe times aren't so bad because their friends around boardroom tables have never had it so good. Lobbyists and consultants are raking it in. Meanwhile, since 2015, visits to food banks in Canada up 77%. Food prices up 42% since 2015. And just this week, the newest data confirms food inflation continues to be the highest in the G7, and overall inflation had the worst one-month jump in over a year. If the Prime Minister still doesn't believe that grocery prices are rising, maybe he could ask the guy who buys his strawberries for him.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Mr. Speaker, once again, this anti-intellectual approach to policy on behalf of the Conservative Party is not convincing Canadians. This is coming from a guy, Mr. Speaker, the failed former leader of the Conservative Party, the member from Regina Capel, who claimed to be an insurance broker, and actually the Insurance Board of Canada said, hey, you were never a broker, could you take it back, man? And he had to. He also used Conservative Party funds to put his kids in school or something like that. I'm sorry, the credibility coming from the other side is just not convincing Canadians. We're cutting taxes, we're lowering gas prices, and we are creating a more affordable future for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Edmonton Gateway.
Mr. Speaker, you can't solve a problem if you deny it even exists. And yet the Prime Minister told Canadians that affordability is the best it's been in over a decade. Yesterday, he doubled down, denying the pain Canadians are feeling at the pumps, in their wallets, at the grocery stores. But the fact is, half of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. After a year of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians are paying more but getting less. When will the Prime Minister stop denying reality and deliver real results for Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, world events and a number of disruptions around the world have caused prices to increase. The government has been there with a timely reduction in fuel taxes, including on cars, trucks, and airplane flights. The month of June will see the first payment under the Groceries and Essentials benefit. First thing we did, Mr. Speaker, we've been there for Canadians on affordability. We know they need it, and we'll continue to do that.
Honourable member for Edmonton Gateway.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals want you to believe that everything is fine, but Canadians are being crushed by food and fuel costs. After the Prime Minister's rhetoric, a whole year of it with no results, inflation has jumped again. Families are being forced to cut back, stretch every dollar, and in many cases, rely on the food bank. This government could have adopted our plan to bring down the price of groceries or to remove all the taxes on gas for the rest of the year. When will they stop with their illusions and deliver real results?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, well, that party's focused on anything but. We're focused on making life more affordable for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We just launched the Groceries and Essentials benefit that will put up to $1,400 in the pockets of working family. In fact, Mr. Speaker, last week we paused the federal excise tax on fuel, saving Canadians 10 cents a litre when they fill up. Combine that with the cut in the consumer carbon tax, that is a 28-cent savings per litre that we are offering Canadians. That side can continue with the podcast tour, the bluster, the rhetoric. We're going to focus on making life more.
The honourable member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, last month, on March 25th, the Prime Minister said that the cost of living in Canada is at its lowest level in over a decade. The cost of groceries continues to rise, rent is expensive, and gas prices have reached almost $2 a litre across Quebec. And over the past 5 years, home prices have risen by 27% in Quebec. Young Quebecers can no longer even save up to buy their first home. Do the Prime Minister and the members of this Liberal government really think that the cost of living has been lower over the past 10 years? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We're very aware of this situation, and this government has adopted a range of measures to help Canadian households who are facing a cost of living crisis. We can talk about the Groceries and Essentials benefit. It's up to $1,800 per family. And there's also the paused federal excise tax on fuel of 10 cents a litre. And we've also lowered taxes for 22 million Canadians. And this is immediate support for Canadians. And we're not going to stop, such as the CCB, dental care, etc. The honourable member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the fundamental issue is not to know all the various band-aids that the government is slapping everywhere to solve issues. It's to know if the Prime Minister believed what he said in March when he said that the cost of living is at its best level in 10 years. Does someone in his government really think this? I really want to be clear on what he said. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I find it really surprising to hear the member talk about Band-Aids when we have said that the CCB is sending $82 million a year to 13,000 constituents in his riding. And we're talking about several thousand members in his riding that go to see a dentist now under our care program. So he's completely disconnected from the reality of Canadians. We are offering structural support to Canadians that they need. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, today is Earth Day, but obviously not in this Parliament, because yesterday sources confirmed that the government is moving forward with its obsession over a new oil sands pipeline. They're testing the waters for a pipeline to transport an additional 1 million barrels of dirty oil every day from Alberta to Vancouver. An additional 1 million barrels every day, while southern Quebec battles floods made nearly annual by climate change. Isn't it time for Liberals to come back down to earth? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, Earth Day, while we've been underscoring it for 56 years, it's an important day for us. All Canadians love nature, and all Canadians recognize how important the Earth is. And we have launched a strategy for nature. It's a powerful one that would allow us to keep 30% of our lands and waters until 2030. We're working hard. We're going to get there, and that's how we're going to build Canada strong. Thank you. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Earth Day is not just something we underscore. It must be a day of resistance under these Liberals, because yesterday we learned that the Liberals are moving forward with their new dirty oil pipeline out west. And that's not all. Last Thursday we learned that Canada had hit a wall in 2024 for greenhouse gas reduction targets, and that's because of the oil companies. And 2024 is the track record of the member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie before he stepped down as a minister and his leader scrapped his climate plan. So imagine what the coming years will look like if there's still pro-environment Liberals out there. What are they waiting for to speak out against this? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we're working on several levels, but in a particularly difficult global context. Well, we're very aware of this. Across the world, there are various environmental issues. We're working on them. That's why we're trying to adopt new strategies to be able to get there. Our nature strategy is one. Also on vehicles, that's another one. So we're continuing to work even today with young people. We were on the Hill. We want to get young people mobilized, and we're going to build Canada this way. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, it's Earth Day, and we have a message to everyone who still believes in climate change. Don't let yourself get discouraged. Fight back. We don't have to accept a new pipeline out west. We don't have to accept that Canada is turning its back on GHG reductions. We don't have to accept that the Liberals are giving billions of our money to oil companies, including $1 billion alone for Bay du Nord. If this Liberal government wants to scrap the fight against climate change, does it realize we won't let it? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. We have to be able to work on several levels. We have a nature strategy, and we're going to work on conservation. That's important, and our government is doing remarkable work in this respect. And we're going to continue to work also with Indigenous peoples. They are here to help us to ensure sovereignty and also take care of nature, and we won't get there without them. But also we're going to build and build well. We're thinking about how to build these major projects, and it has to involve nature conservation, and that's how we're going to build our country. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lakelands.
Canada's food inflation is the highest in the G7 for the 4th straight month. But the PM wrongly claimed affordability is the best it's been in over a decade. Well, gas was $1 a litre in 2015. It's up 62%. Diesel up 93%. $1 trillion in brains, businesses and jobs fled Liberal red tape and roadblocks. Most Canadians can't afford to eat, house, drive, and put savings aside anymore. Young Canadians lose hope. The middle class is almost gone. And the rich, like the PM, keep getting richer. How can the PM ignore Canadian struggles and lecture them about just how good they have it?
Well done. The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, this government, we are controlling what we can. We know there are a lot of factors outside of our control, but what we can control is ensuring that youth get a head start with the Canada Summer Jobs Program, that Canadians get help with the fuel excise tax, that apprenticeships get a $75 million injection in training, and that Canadians get a groceries and essentials benefit that puts up to $1,400 per year on the dinner table for a family of 4. We are giving Canadians a boost today and a bridge to tomorrow while the Conservatives fight themselves.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Canadians should be able to afford essentials themselves. That's the job of this government. The PM says he's like Canadian war hero Sir Isaac Brock. Well, people food ration in war, but the Liberals make Canadians ration in peace, don't they? Since 2015, beef is up 69%, baby formula 84%, eggs 44%, and the PM cut only 1/3 of Liberal fuel taxes for 1/3 of the year, yet keeps his federal industrial carbon tax, fuel standard, and other red tape that hike costs for growers, shippers, and Canadians at the grocery store. A year in, when will the PM drop photo ops and 1/3 measures, cut taxes on food and fuel so Canadians can afford to thrive, not just survive?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, this feels like a good moment to remind Canadians that we made the National School Food Program permanent in the last budget.
Nice.
This is an investment that will ensure over 400,000 additional children receive access to nutritious meals at school. It represents a savings for up to $800 per family. We are there for Canadians. We understand that they need supports. This is one of many, including dental care, the Canada Child Benefit, and other measures to support Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale Langley City.
I took an Uber last Saturday to the Vaisakhi Parade in Surrey and got to talking with the driver. He told me he lost his job to AI and now he's driving long hours just to make ends meet. He said after all the costs of keeping his car on the road, he's making next to nothing. He hardly sees his little boy who's in kindergarten, and yet the Prime Minister told Canadians that affordability is the best it's been in over a decade. Is this really what the Prime Minister thinks better looks like?
Honourable Member, Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I attended that Vaisakhi parade as well in Surrey last weekend, and it was a tremendous opportunity to be in the community. Mr. Speaker, for nearly 3 decades, I ran a small business. I know what the challenges that SMEs and entrepreneurs face. I've been there and how close the margins can be. Things like the changes, the savings on the fuel and on the diesel, this can make a difference for those drivers. It can put money back in their pocket, and it's just one part of the measures that we're taking to support Canadians.
Honourable Member for Cloverdale Langley City.
His family definitely do not agree with the Prime Minister that affordability is the best it's been in over a decade. As a matter of fact, he admitted that it's gotten so bad in Canada, he's wondering whether he should even stay. No wonder Canadians are talking about leaving. It now takes over half of median household income just to own a home in Canada, and the food inflation is the highest in the G7. How many more hardworking Canadians have to leave this country before the Prime Minister wakes up and admits housing and affordability policies are failing?
Wake up! The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are getting support with affordability with the measures we are taking right now. They're getting support with the school nutrition program. We're making changes to support them, first-time home buyers. We've brought in the groceries and essentials benefit, and we've removed the federal excise tax on fuel till September 7th. These are measures that are supporting Canadians. I guess my question is why the member from British Columbia isn't also supporting these measures to make difference for Canadians.
That's a good question. The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
Mr. Speaker, while the Liberals continue to ignore the affordability concerns of Canadians, the reality for families is getting worse. Monday's data shows that here in Canada, we continue to carry the highest food inflation in the G7, a badge of shame that we've held for 4 months in a row. Beef costs 69% more, and the price of chicken is 43% higher than it was in 2015. Working class families, young Canadians, and seniors all feel that inflation every time they leave the grocery store. When are we finally going to see action from these Liberals to increase domestic food production to bring down the cost of food in this country?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality, Small Business and Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians need real relief right now, and we're delivering. And I've got great news, Mr. Speaker. The very first Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit is going to Canadians right across the country this June. That means an additional $1,900 for a family of 4 to help them with support on everyday essentials. From grocery support to child care to dental care, we're there. And of course, you've already heard it today, we're lowering the cost at the pumps by 28 cents per litre. This is really going to help everyday Canadians, and we're going to continue to do that, Mr. Speaker, because we're trying to build this strong country, and we're going to do that with the help of Canadians as well.
The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister continues to peddle in half measures and broken promises as the answer to the affordability crisis Liberals created. The Liberals have had years to act. Canadians are in need of results, but what they get are recycled speeches and illusions while food inflation remains the highest in the G7 and the Prime Minister pretends affordability has never been better. With food bank and soup kitchen use in Brandon, overcapacity month after month in the heart of Canada's breadbasket, when are the Liberals finally going to recognize that when the region who grows the food can't even afford it, the rest of the country is in crisis?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate the honourable member disagrees with child care, dental care, the Canada Child Benefit, the National School Food Program, the Canada Grocery Essentials Benefit, an increase in health transfers, OAS, eliminating the carbon tax, a tax break for 22 million Canadians, the productivity super deduction, investments in domestic processing for the breadbasket of Canada, increase in agri-marketing and an advanced payment program.
I can go on and
There's
on.
no more, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon University.
On March 25th, the Liberal Prime Minister told Canadians affordability is the best in decades. Wow. But food prices tell a different story, though. Apples are up over 48%. Fresh vegetables are up 57%, and potatoes are up a whopping 60% compared to 2015. When will this Prime Minister stop making the same promises, end the illusions, and deliver results instead of lecturing Canadians on why they have never had it so good?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to say that for 10 long years, those Conservative MPs from Saskatchewan told the people of our province that Canada was broken.
That's right.
That was their constant message, Mr. Speaker. And I think about the billions of dollars that they left on the table because they would not represent Saskatchewan well, and they wouldn't do the work, Mr. Speaker. So today, Saskatchewan is on this side of the House. We're going to help grow Canada, Mr. Speaker, and we're just getting started.
The honourable member. The honourable member for Drummond. The honourable member. I know we're talking about Saskatchewan. Well, the members are, but the honourable member for Drummond. The Prime Minister announced yesterday the composition of his new advisory committee for negotiations on a new free trade agreement with the U.S. People from almost every economic sector are represented, which is a good thing. But we can't help but notice that there's no representative from Quebec's cultural sector. Yet, our culture is clearly in the crosshairs of the U.S. president. How can the government justify the fact that no one from Quebec's cultural sector was invited to join this advisory committee?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister for Canada-U.S. Trade. Mr. Speaker, I have 2 points that I'd like to point out. He knows that in our discussions with the Americans, we did not discuss or negotiate the Quebec exception. It won't be on the table, and he knows full well there's no danger of this type of discussion happening at the table with the U.S. And I'm very proud of Quebecers and other Canadians who have accepted voluntarily to serve on our advisory committee. There are people from the cultural sector and a lot of people from Quebec, and I'm looking forward to working with them. The honourable member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, Quebec culture is threatened by globalization, and there's an absence of representation from this sector. Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus leave very little room for our creators. Advertising revenue is no longer coming in, and our TV and film industries are paying the price, as Quebec producers have noted. On top of that, Donald Trump wants to do away with the cultural exception in the next free trade agreement. The Quebec Cultural Community doesn't get it, neither do we. Is there anyone in the government who can explain why the PM did not appoint anyone to defend Quebec culture on his committee? The Honourable Minister of Canada-U.S. Trade. The Bloc member knows very well, Mr. Speaker, that the cultural sector is not on the negotiating table, and I hope that he's not accusing Jean Charest of not understanding Quebec culture, or that Makili Pigard does not represent the cultural sector. The honourable member for Mégantic-Lorable-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal PM is completely out of touch with reality, and it's high time he come back down to earth. On March 25th, he had the nerve to say that life has never been more affordable than it is today. Over the past 10 years. Seriously? I go grocery shopping every week. I talk with people at the checkout, and I can tell you that no one is breathing a sigh of relief as prices go up. Families are cutting back, counting every dollar and worrying. Why does this Prime Minister keep lecturing Canadians that everything's fine when everyone knows this is not true? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the member Crossaway knows very well, because he's been here for several years, that he has systematically voted against the Canada Child Benefit, against school food programs, against our dental care program, against this one-time support and sometimes permanent that we have offered to Canadians to fight the affordability crisis that we recognize, which does exist. Why does the member and his colleagues why are they refusing to support any assistance that we are proposing for vulnerable Canadians? The honourable member for Mégantic-Lorable-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, if everything's going so well, why are food banks overflowing with young families that earn 2 incomes? If everything's great, how come these measures haven't solved the cost of living issue in Canada? If everything's so great, why is the government having to pay every family to be able to make ends meet? It doesn't make sense. It's pathetic to see them applaud all these measures, because when we know that families cannot pay their rent. Rents are up, gas is up, almost $2 a litre in Thetford Mines. When will this Prime Minister stop being arrogant and finally recognize that he shouldn't have to help Canadian families? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, dental care is not pathetic. Food school programs are far from pathetic. The CCB is far from being pathetic. Offering 17 weeks of a gas tax freeze. And for diesel, Mr. Speaker, this member is refusing any support, and then he accuses us of doing nothing. Why is this member and his colleagues, why are they not rising up against their leader and to ask this for the same support that we're offering? The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Acuanrac. What's pathetic, Mr. Speaker, is to see this Liberal Prime Minister rise and saying something that's the opposite of reality. A few weeks ago, the Prime Minister said affordability has never been better in the past decade. Mr. Speaker, where is the Prime Minister? Because we know he hasn't done anything. In 10 years, rents have doubled. In 10 years, what's happened for home prices? Well, they've gone up by over 60%. In 10 years, the number of people going to food banks has doubled. These are the facts, Mr. Speaker. And why does this PM keep saying the opposite, even though Canadian families are having a hard time making ends meet? Thank you. It's not by repeating false statements day after day at question period that they're going to help Canadians. This Prime Minister and this government have always recognized the challenges that Canadians are facing on affordability, and that's what the first thing we did was to lower taxes for 20 million Canadians. And then one of the first things we did was to eliminate the GST for first-time homebuyers. And that's why we have structural programs such as the CCB, dental care. I'd like to remind him how many people we help in his riding. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Acuanrac. I hate to say that 2 million Canadians have to go to food banks every month, and that's a fact. And for the fourth consecutive month, Canada has the worst food inflation. And what's true, Mr. Speaker, is that for 10 years, beef has risen by 69%. And over the past year, other food products are also on the rise. And what the Prime Minister said about affordability never being so good, well, can the Minister recognize that what the Prime Minister said is false? The Honourable Minister. What is true, Mr. Speaker, is that this member is opposed to the Canadian Dental Program, which helps over 20,000 members in his riding. And what is true, Mr. Speaker, is that this member is opposed to the Canadian Child Benefit, which sends 73,000 million to families in his riding. And he's against the grocery benefit, which helps the most vulnerable Canadians as we're seeing a rise in the cost of living. And it adds up to $1,800 per family, and he should be ashamed of not supporting it. The Honourable Member.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. On the 25th of March, the Prime Minister told Canadians that affordability has never been better in over a decade. I would like to remind him, however, that since 2015, the average house price has risen by 51%, food prices have risen by 42%, and gas prices have risen by 62%. Furthermore, the data confirms that food inflation in Canada remains the highest in the G7. When will the Prime Minister stop lecturing everyone and start delivering tangible results? The Honourable Minister. Speaking of tangible measures, we've brought 1 million children out of poverty over the last 10 years. That's a tangible result, Mr. Speaker.
For Waterloo.
Mr. Speaker, in Waterloo, UWaterloo grads are turning Canadian research into real-world solutions. KA Imaging's advanced X-ray technology is improving diagnostic accuracy, creating skill jobs locally, and helping clinicians make better decisions for patients. Their portable X-ray technology is being used in Canadian hospitals and globally in rural remote clinics in Kenya, Nigeria, and 12 other export markets. Will the government share how we are supporting innovators like this in Waterloo, across Canada and around the world, who are improving global health outcomes and saving lives of women and children?
Excellent question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for International Development.
Mr. Speaker, another unique feature of the Waterloo region is how technology intersects development. KA Imaging is a great example of how Canadian innovation can have an impact both domestically and globally. Through Grand Challenges Canada, our government supports innovators who are developing and scaling solutions to some of the world's most pressing health challenges, from improving maternal and newborn care to strengthening health systems in challenging contexts. Our government reaffirmed our support for GCC to ensure that Canadian innovators continue to turn bold ideas into life-saving solutions.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
The Auditor General found massive security screening failures of people allowed into Canada by this Liberal government. Ahmed El-Didi entered Canada on a visitor visa. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals let him in despite a 2015 ISIS propaganda video showing him participating in a brutal beheading-style attack. This guy is just one of many, as the same porous Liberal vetting process has allowed hundreds of IRGC agents into our communities. Will the Liberals support the Conservative request for the Auditor General to audit all immigration screening processes, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, every individual that applies to come to Canada is thoroughly reviewed for security, Mr. Speaker. Our law enforcement agencies, including CSIS and CBSA, undergo a thorough check before documents are issued. When they're in Canada and when they're deemed to be admissible, CBSA enforces those removals, Mr. Speaker. We have last year removed over 22,000 individuals for inadmissibility, the highest in recent history, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Yesterday, when confronted with cases of non-citizens convicted of serious crimes getting sentence discounts to dodge deportation, the former Liberal immigration minister claimed there was no rule requiring judges to do this. But now a Quebec judge has exposed the truth, warning that judges and prosecutors across Canada are doing exactly that. If you do the crime, you should do the time. But Canadians are paying the price as convicted foreign nationals are receiving discounted sentences due to their immigration status. If the former Liberal immigration minister knew this loophole was being abused, why did he vote against our Conservative bill to stop the abuse so there's one law for all?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Speaker, it's very clear that serious crimes need to be met with serious penalties. I'm pleased to inform the honourable member that the case law in Canada makes sure that judges may not completely distort a sentence that would be not fit for the crime committed. Mr. Speaker, it's essential that as we ensure we have more serious penalties, particularly for the most violent offenders, that we also allow our court system to operate independently. I am proud to live in a country that is governed by the rule of law. I hope the same is true for all members of this House.
Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, the two-tier justice system exists not in spite of the Liberals, it exists because of the Liberals. In one case, a non-citizen criminal who was found guilty twice groping a young woman's genitals avoided real prison time and instead received house arrest in order to help him avoid deportation. This loophole tells victims that this Liberal system cares more about protecting convicted foreign nationals from deportation than protecting Canadians. Justice should be blind. How much longer is this Liberal government going to defend an ideological two-tier justice system and finally start standing with Canadians instead of siding with convicted foreign criminals?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, it is completely disingenuous for any member of this House to suggest that members of another party care more about criminals than they do about public safety. The Conservatives have tried that before, and Canadians saw them out of office as a result. Mr. Speaker, we take crime very seriously. The kinds of very serious crimes that have been committed will be subjected to harsher sentences as a result of the legislation that we are moving forward in this Parliament. The member is a new member. He may not be aware that in 2013, the Supreme Court of Canada made a decision indicating this could be the case. For 2 years, the Conservatives remained in power, chose to do nothing about this issue.
Good answer.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, I've been here a hot minute, and that minister should try telling that to the victim of a non-citizen who broke into their house in Canada, stole from them, and then violently assaulted them. And then what did the judge do? They gave the criminal house arrest so he wouldn't be deported. Here's the reality. This former immigration minister broke the immigration system. He brought too many people in too fast. Our ERs are overflowing and we have a housing and jobs crisis. Now he's breaking the justice system. Why did the former immigration minister vote against my bill to stop this disgusting practice?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, being accused of breaking the justice system for advancing more serious penalties for serious crimes is something that clearly defies logic. Mr. Speaker, she is correct about one thing. She has been here for a minute. I have great respect for my colleagues, but during her time here, she sat in Cabinet for a full 2 years after the Supreme Court of Canada demonstrated that courts may consider immigration consequences to ensure that there is a fit penalty. Despite sitting at the Cabinet table, she took precisely zero action to address this problem, only raises it now. Mr. Speaker, we believe that serious and violent criminals should face serious penalties. We will not just say that on the floor of the House of Commons. We will advance legislation to make it so.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
There are women who have been sexually assaulted in Canada by non-citizens, and then the non-citizens have been given leniency in order to stay here and avoid deportation. You know, the minister here talks about what I did. I tabled a bill to stop this practice, and every single person on that side, including him who would have given the recommendation on my bill, voted against it. Disgusting. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's disingenuous to call into question the commitment of any member of any party when it comes to dealing with heinous crimes such as sexual assault. For my part, Mr. Speaker, we have advanced legislation that advances stiffer penalties.
I'm having trouble hearing. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. I know it's an emotional issue, but I'm having trouble hearing the, not from the top, but the Honourable Minister may continue.
Mr. Speaker, if anyone would question this government's commitment to gender-based violence, I would invite them to read the text of Bill C-16, the largest suite of reforms to advance more serious penalties to combat gender-based violence, matched with an announcement today to put $50 million more in the hands of organizations that are working to combat gender-based violence in our communities. Mr. Speaker, as I continue to be heckled talking about an issue such as gender-based violence, I won't be distracted. I'll do the work.
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South. Six Nation. Go ahead.
The Prime Minister stood in this House, promised to keep violent repeat offenders off our street, but it turns out that was just another speech, just another illusion. Violent crime is up 55%, and Canadians are watching violent offenders walk free with judicial discounts instead of real consequences. Speech after speech, the Liberals talk tough but deliver nothing. How many more empty speeches will it take before these Liberals stop the illusions and finally deliver the justice for victims?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, this question is shocking. We have delivered more public safety and justice legislation than any government prior. 7 different pieces of legislation in this House, Mr. Speaker. And what have the Conservatives done all along? They've delayed, they haven't supported it. And just on C-22, lawful access the other day, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to see that they were able to pass it on division to committee. I hope at the committee process they'll support the bill and give law enforcement the tools they need to catch criminals.
Yes. Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Here she goes again, talking tough, delivering nothing. They had the chance to protect victims and restore public safety, but voted against our Jail Not Bail Act, Consecutive Sentences Act, and One Law for All to finally jail criminals. Liberal soft on crime laws continue to let violent repeat offenders roam free, handing out judicial discounts while Canadians pay the price. These Liberals keep recycling the same empty promises and same illusions. How many more Canadians have to suffer before these Liberals admit their failure and stop giving criminals a judicial discount?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
I think this member is confused. We are the party that's delivered the Jail Not Bail bill. The bill is currently in the Senate right now. It's our bail reform and sentencing bill, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
It makes it more difficult for repeat violent offenders to get bail, and it makes sentences longer for criminals.
I can't hear. The member may continue if you desire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're doing the work that's needed to make sure that criminals are kept behind bars, but we're also doing preventative measures, Mr. Speaker. We've just today announced supports for victims. We've announced programming to make sure that we prevent children from getting into a life of violence. We're working on all fronts to make sure that Canadians are safer in Canada.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, in Canada, those serving 2 years or more are typically released at 2/3 of their sentence. Now, as a former parole officer, I'm aware that Corrections Canada can apply to have people detained for the last third of their sentence. It doesn't look like Corrections Canada did this, and as a result, an ISIS terrorist who was a recruiter for ISIS was released into this community. Mr. Speaker, before the Public Safety Minister starts talking about independence for Corrections Canada, he should answer this. Did the Liberal government do everything it could to keep a dangerous ISIS terrorist behind bars for as long as possible? Yes or no?
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, Correctional Services Canada is able to apply conditions on any offender that's being released. They can apply any conditions that they feel are fit. I hope that in this case, conditions will be applied that are appropriate to make sure that Canadians are kept safe.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
This week, a young disabled man was assaulted for the 4th time by a gang in downtown Nanaimo. He was badly hurt, but so traumatized, it took his mom a day to get him to hospital while his attackers remain perpetually out on bail. Nothing the Liberals have proposed repeals the principle of restraint that releases accused at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. The only person whose liberty is restricted here is the victim, afraid to go out lest he be assaulted a 5th time. When will the Liberals recognize that their soft-on-crime policies hurt vulnerable people and repeal Liberal bail?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me just acknowledge the heinous act that the member opposite talks about. I would say that since taking office, Mr. Speaker, we have brought forward the most comprehensive criminal justice reform in a generation. Bill C-14 speaks to that, Mr. Speaker. It talks about, it ensures that repeat violent offenders are off our streets, Mr. Speaker, and those will get stiffer sentences during sentencing period. We have Bill C-16 now going through the committee process. Again, it protects victims. What we need, Mr. Speaker, is cooperation to ensure that...
The honourable member for L'Épée d'en Haut. Mr. Speaker, today, on Earth Day, we are celebrating the beauty of Canada's natural heritage and the responsibility we all share to protect it for future generations. To put this commitment into action, our government has launched a Force of Nature Canada strategy to protect nature, backed by a $3.8 billion investment to conserve our rich biodiversity and protect our ecosystems. Can the Secretary of State for Nature inform Canadians how the strategy will deliver concrete results, bring positive benefits to communities, and maintain Canada's leadership in conservation? The Honourable Secretary of State for Nature. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from L'Épée d'en Haut for this important question on Earth Day. I'd also like to thank him for all the work he does for nature in L'Épée d'en Haut with his colleague from L'Épée d'en Bas. Throughout Canada, all Canadians love nature. That is our best value. It unites us, it federates us on all sides of the House, and that's why I'm very proud today to talk about our strategy, a force of nature. We will better protect nature, we will build Canada, a good Canada, and we'll also make sure to raise capital for nature.
The honourable member for Simcoe North.
Speaker, Mexico and the United States have been having ongoing formal discussions, and it looks like they're having additional discussions scheduled in May. Once again, it appears, just like it was in 2019, that Mexico is much further ahead in their negotiations with the United States. Now, we can discuss and resolve our trade irritants and disputes at the table, but we have to be at the table. So on behalf of the millions of Canadians who rely on trade with the U.S., When can they expect formal negotiations to begin?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague knows very well that we've been engaged with the Americans on a whole series of issues, including the unfair and unjustified 232 tariffs that are doing considerable damage to the economy of the United States and causing challenges for Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. The good news, Mr. Speaker, is unlike the Conservatives, we're prepared to support Canadian workers and Canadian businesses while we stand firm with the United States. And unlike the advice of the Leader of the Opposition, we're not prepared to sign any deal that's not in the interest of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
The Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win on trade by last summer, but from his recent video, he seems to be throwing in the towel. From Council of Forest Industries, last year, softwood tariffs tripled to 45%. Since 2022, 15,000 forestry jobs have been lost, and since 2023, 21 more mills have closed. Prime Minister, how many thousands of BC forestry workers need to lose their jobs before you keep your promise to negotiate a win?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Speaker, we've announced $2.5 billion in targeted support for the businesses and workers in the forestry sector. We've just finished an industry task force for recommendations on how to do more. We will pivot to grow. That $2.5 billion will be used to help the 300 communities dependent on forestry in this country.
The Honourable Member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, 2.6 million Canadians depend on trade with the United States for their livelihoods. Niagara is home to 641 businesses who generated $6.6 billion in exports to the United States. Trade with the U.S. isn't a weakness, as this Liberal Prime Minister suggests. It's our daily reality. Mexico and the U.S. are talking trade right now. Meanwhile, Canada hasn't had serious talks with our largest trading partners in 5 months. Why is this Liberal government dragging its feet?
The Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we are in serious negotiations with the United States because we are in a trade war. And in a trade war, you got to do the serious work of supporting Canadian businesses. At FedDev Ontario, we put hundreds of millions of dollars into Canadian businesses, many of them in conservative ridings, and they need that support. Deshawn and Vaughan, MVA and Stratford, SensorTech and Collingwood. They should listen to these businesses. They are supporting our efforts to build a bridge to the future. They got to get on board.
Honourable Member for Acadie Annapolis.
Mr. Speaker, supporting our military with our plan to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in our Canadian Armed Forces is a priority for our new government. Our riding is home to CFB Greenwood, the largest air base in the East Coast. Federal investments will support P-8 infrastructure, RPAS drones, and building 208 new housing units. As we strengthen our armed forces, could the Minister of National Defence outline the measures that our government is doing to support CAF members and families based across Canada?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
I thank the member from Acadie Annapolis for his question and for his advocacy on behalf of the brave men and women of Canadian Forces Base Greenwood. Our soldiers, sailors, and aviators do important and incredible work, and we need more of them. That's why we've been reinvesting in our people. We've given our forces a well-deserved pay raise. We're getting them the tools, the weapons, the equipment, and the housing they need. And guess what, Mr. Speaker? Recruitment has just hit a 30-year high. We're just getting started, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Brampton West.
Brampton families are living in fear. Extortion and organized crimes are targeting small businesses and families. This week, multiple tow trucks were set on fire. Police believe these were targeted attacks. This is not isolated. My community is terrified. It is a growing pattern of violence and intimidation. When will these Liberals adopt our Conservative plan to dismantle these criminals' networks and protect our communities?
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's about time that the Conservatives wake up. The second bill that we introduced in this Parliament was C2, which included lawful access. But we've had to bring that bill, after many, many months of Conservative delay, back to this Parliament as C22. Just yesterday, the Canadian Chiefs of Police were on the Hill, and they were commending the work that's been done to bring lawful access forward, because they know that this is exactly what's needed to help solve extortion cases.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, 130 students from Gaza have been waiting over 2 years to continue their studies at Canadian universities, at 26 Canadian universities, including the University of Alberta. These brilliant graduate students have survived genocide, they have lost family members, and they are trying to get into the universities to continue their study, despite the fact that the Israeli forces have destroyed every university in Gaza. The UK, France, Ireland, and Italy have gotten students out of Gaza, but Canada has refused to expedite the process, and it's an international embarrassment. I want to know why the minister is not acting. Is it...
Okay. The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We are deeply concerned about the ongoing situation in Gaza. Anyone looking to come to Canada, including international students, must meet our visa requirements. We understand that this can be challenging, but it is necessary. IRCC will continue to process study permit applications for those in Gaza, and our visa application centres in neighbouring countries are offering expedited processing where possible. We'll continue to do everything we can for the students in Gaza and everywhere else. Thank you very much.
Good answer. Pour cette période des questions, alors ça
That concludes question period.